Okay, hey everybody, it's Brett with your weekly recap. I wanted to get this video out before the CPI numbers come in. So depending on when you see this, markets may have moved already, but if you're watching it beforehand, the numbers come out Thursday, 8:30 Eastern AM. So depending on if they come out hot or come in less than expected, we could see some market rally or some market corrections here. So why don't we go ahead and unpack some of the news and then we'll dive into the charts. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kill the video. That way you guys can see more of this charts as we go through it. All right, let's do it. So in the news, we've got some news here in the daily hodl. So some bullish news here. Mark Yusko predicts that Bitcoin outruns gold in 2023. And that would be, of course, interesting to see. Some are saying that maybe we see a run up before the actual halving. And that was something I was watching Bob Lucas talk about on his Twitter. So that's interesting theory there. But Mark Yusko is predicting that Bitcoin and other risk assets are going to bounce back just like the tech sector after the dot-com crash in the early 2000s. So we'll see. Certainly a little bit tenuous here, but I am liking how the charts are starting to format and come together. In a new interview with Blockworks, Mark Yusko says Bitcoin likely to outperform gold. And let's see, down here he says compares the current market conditions for risk assets like Bitcoin and tech stocks to the dot-com bubble of the early 2000s, just when the markets crashed there and the sentiment turned sour before it rebounded with a passion. And back then, we of course know what happened after the crash, came out very strong. So that's some interesting news there. Also here on Blockworks, crypto stocks headed for correction if the CPI print isn't strong. And so just to touch on that, it says if the risk appetite remains intact post-inflation report, then Bitcoin could make another run at the 18,500 level. That's also a level I've been identifying, and we'll look at that as well. So, and saying that if the prices are not so favorable, Bitcoin could decline back toward December lows. Also a possibility. We'll unpack that here in a moment as well. XRP news. This is Charlie Gasparino from XRP is warning that there could be a crypto bloodbath if the SEC happens to win against Ripple. I don't know. Nobody's really expecting that. And certainly the price action here today would not indicate that. But this is just some chatter here. This is the one I wanted to show. This is from Charles here saying basically could see a bloodbath. However, and the reason is that would force regulation in the form of oversight, and that would impact nearly every sector in crypto, and including the exchange business. And let's see, I didn't mean to do that, but this is desire to force registration. Yeah, Gary Gensler's desire to force registration to of every coin but Bitcoin. So we'll take a look at this too and see what it looks like on the charts. Biggest movers of the day here, recording late on Wednesday. The biggest movers, Atom and then XRP, which had a big push higher today, and I want to show you those charts. Also, Avalanche in the news with a bit of a pump here with the news that it's partnering with Amazon, and so that's good news. And so you could probably Google that and find out more information. But it says, looking forward, Web3 and blockchain is inevitable. No one can predict the time or when it's going to happen, but we've seen these cycles of growth before. The reason I wanted to share this is that, I think one of the hallmarks of truly coming out of the bear market will be more partnerships, maybe some acquisitions and mergers and acquisitions, and starting to really strengthen the foundation of the entire industry. So that's also among the news of the GBTC and Barry Silbert and all of that. So I'm going to actually open that up. We'll touch on it. But he says here in this article, AWS will support Avalanche's DApp ecosystem. So that's huge for Avalanche, of course, along with one-click node deployments. And Ava Labs will join AWS Activate for startups and early-stage entrepreneurs. So that is certainly interesting as well. And so real quick to touch on the GBTC and the Barry Silbert fiasco with Genesis and Gemini. If you haven't been following along, the Winklevoss twins who own Gemini basically recently accused Barry Silbert of not playing by the rules and essentially causing fraud and behaving in a fraudulent manner, accused them as a fraud basically because they thought they had commingled funds I would encourage everyone to read the open letter that's on the internet, and you can find that on Twitter. Now, here's the thing: companies with a lot to lose, like Gemini and the Winklevoss, as would not come out and essentially accuse this in so much detail if they didn't have some proof. And so that is, they must have some inside knowledge of what they're accusing them of, even though Barry Silbert denies that. Either way, the risk is that since 900 million is now missing from Gemini's coffers and evaporated with the Genesis crypto lending platform, could cause some serious issues with Gemini. They can afford it, but that's almost $1 billion. So there will be some litigation, no doubt. However, and a lot of the open letter was written in that language of essentially, here are the facts, and that's a precursor to litigation. So the fears are that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust might be liquidated and causing Bitcoin prices to dump hard. However, that's not likely to happen, I think, in the short term. Litigation and legal maneuvering is going to take possibly years. So likely what they would do, in Barry Silbert's background is in handling bankruptcies. So their best play would be to defer and wait and hold that Bitcoin until, and hopefully it does go up and into the higher numbers, six figures, 100,000. I'm actually seeing, we could hit anywhere from 170 to $250,000 Bitcoin, I think, in the next cycle. And I'll show you why I think that. So just to get that out of the way, this is ongoing, but I don't think that this is it's been factored in. And some people, including Bob Lucas, were saying this has been known, it's factored in price. So that resonates well with what I'm seeing in the price kind of pushing higher. And by the way, if you occasionally I'll post updates on TradingView. My TradingView name is BJF Private. Nothing for sale here, just ideas, and I'm playing around with some live streams. But the up-to-date videos here will be weekly here on this channel. So please like and subscribe if you like the content. And with that, let's dive in on the monthly chart of Bitcoin. All right, so we've been following along on these various moving averages, and I had been predicting 16,500 since May, predominantly based on this 100-month moving average. The blue and the green are exponential moving averages, also worth noting, but I'm going to call your attention to this nice bullish engulfing candle we see here, and we'll dive into that a little bit more in a minute. But why I wanted to touch on this is it does look like we're holding here, and that would be great. And we could be putting in this nice bottoming pattern to start pushing higher. And of course, if we cannot hold this, if we can't hold the line right around 17,000 as of end of January, then and it rejects here, then very likely we do head down to the 13,000, 14,000 level, which is the 100-month exponential moving average. And I'll just show that to you right there. The reason that's significant is the blue line, the 50-month exponential moving average, has for a long time been the support line, the support zone. So in the bear market correction of 2015-16, came down, touched it, found support all along here. Again, in the bear market of 2017-2018, before it pushed higher, did break below it briefly on the COVID crash, but it clearly broke below here in this downturn. So this line is now going to be resistance if we push higher. If and actually when ultimately we'll push higher, obviously, then this would act as some resistance and probably see a pullback. So with that in mind, let's do this. I'm going to pull out to open that up here and close that. And I want to scroll down here and just show you a few things that I'm also watching. So I'll hide these and I'll hide that. And then on the pattern, so the possible pattern, that's not the one I want to show. Projected bull run. Yeah. So let's take a look at this here. And essentially, if I can open that up a bit more full screen, let's see. That's not the one I need. It's this one. So with this, these are the past market cycles. And we can even go back one more where we saw, actually, it's a different chart. What I'm showing here is the possible upswing on the next cycle. And of course, anything is possible. This is an overlay of the last cycle. So there's usually some similarities, and maybe what we see is something more like back in 2016 and 17. You never know. But if I were to overlay this without lowering it and just do it as is, that puts us up. I think that's unreasonable. So we can draw this down. There's other lines here, actually. So I've had it here at 135,000 Bitcoin to 170,000 Bitcoin. Actually, I think that's likely, and even as high as I'd say 250,000 is possible on the next bull run, depending on which one of those play out. So the question is, which one plays out? We don't know until we get a little bit closer, but it does look like we'll have a few months of bottoming down in there. So I'll just move this out of the way, and we will go ahead and hide that and save it for next time for the projected bull run. Previous bull cycles, again, lasting 2 years. And so looks like to me, we are entering into that early phase where we are recovering. And again, we could see this type of recovery here lasting all the way into December of 2024 into 2025. Of course, this could be a little bit wider. We just don't know. So we'll see. But good news is it's, even if we dip down from here to 14,000, even if we were to go to 10,000, which we'll look at in a minute, it's a minor amount of correction from here. And in the scheme of things, if we are going to 200,000, it's still not going to be a big deal. It's a 10x potential on that in the near term, next 2 years. So let's take a look at the correction cycles. We do look at this every week. If you're new here, this basically shows typically in the bear cycles, we go down 85%, just shy in 2014-15. And we saw the same thing here in 2018, 2019. So if we were to complete that and see another big leg down, if there were to be some more contagion and another capitulation like this one, if we want to just kind of see what that might look like based on this pattern, certainly in the cards, but that would take us right down to this 10,000 level, which would be that 85% correction total. And there's other support in there. So these are levels that we have to kind of leave open as possible. All right. What else? Trend lines, different areas of support and resistance here. We're getting a bullish engulfing candle here, which I'll also turn this on because let me turn the trend lines off, because these bullish engulfing candles are the very all the engulfing candles, especially on a monthly basis, are highly accurate, and a lot of follow through on those. So what we want to watch for is going into the end of January, do we hold here at or above 17,500 and keep that as a bullish engulfing candle? And ideally we do push higher, and it's a bigger bullish engulfing candle, because as we've seen recently, these tend to follow through into the next month, and we could see a very fast recovery like this. And one of the things people don't realize is, while many coins typically will push higher, come back and retest support, Bitcoin doesn't really do that. Once it goes, it's going, and it goes for a while. So that's kind of what we're keeping an eye on. These bullish engulfing candle is encouraging. And so with that, let's take a look at these other indicators here down below. Of course, the RSI looks like it's starting to bottom. I had drawn alerts at the 40 level months ago, because once we broke this very important support line in the 44, 45 range on the RSI, the Bitcoin monthly RSI, once that broke down and then went up and was rejected, that told me we're going lower. And it looks like 40 would make sense. It's starting to tick higher, but we'll have to wait and see. Some other indications also, I'll turn these labels on so you can see those. The money flow index also coming down, and I would imagine this is going to hold, and this is a bit of a delayed indicator. So we actually may already be here and bouncing on the money flow. We won't know for another week or so until that, maybe even towards the end of the month. It's not real-time daily, I think. But at any rate, a couple other encouraging signs. We have that monthly MACD, which also signify the top back here where I was telling people to get out in November, and really pounding the table in January because of this crossover on the MACD. I don't use MACD often, just on that monthly chart. So either way, it would indicate, we've got months of recovery to go until it's really going again, but certainly it's turning the tide, and that's encouraging. So why don't we do this and jump over to another time frame, take a look at the weekly chart of Bitcoin. So a little bit more insight here. We do see higher lows, and so on the monthly basis, this is part of that bullish engulfing candle. But here, looking at a little more granular view here, rising lows, higher lows. So what I'd like to see is if it can break out into a new trend channel, because we're still in a downward trend channel. And that would be good to see. So as soon as, I always look for when are these things breaking into new trend channels, and can we support that with new lower lows or higher lows going in a new direction. So an example of what that could look like would be something like this. And whether it's that tall or that tall, we really want to just kind of see it going higher in a new trajectory, ideally. So we'll wait and see on our proprietary trend strength indicator, still trying to get above that 20 line. And so I'll be watching for that, see if that can break higher. I will have an alert here at 20. I'm going to move it up a little bit just so we know it goes above these two. That'll be one of the things I'll be looking for, as well as, and one of the reasons I'm a little bit leery here is we haven't seen our weekly ERI, which is again one of our in-house indicators. So I'm keeping a close eye on that. And I do think we could see a pullback here. This is resistance. And then unless we just see a big push higher, this could be a news-driven pump. And that would be based on the CPI data. I just don't know until it happens tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that. On the BLX here, this is also the weekly chart of Bitcoin, showing the 200, 300, 400 week moving average. So this is another way to look at this here in terms of if we get rejected on the 300 week moving average, then we could see this type of pattern play out and head down to the $14,000 level. And this basically is just a copy, I believe, of one of these prior ones that fell off. So these patterns tend to play out over and over again, even if it's not exact. So the bars pattern here, we're kind of going sideways. We could see something like that. That wasn't the one I wanted. It was probably this one, the more recent one here. So there to there, and then showing what we could drop down to. So, look, either way, this would be a very strong support level at 14,000 was the high back in June of 2019. If we zoom out even farther, it's had some important resistance if we draw it kind of more like that. So anyway, the point is, we want to see these going higher, break above this, get back above the 300 week moving average, which is significant because there you go, the 300 week moving average, because that it also was a strong support level. The 200 week was before that held here at the COVID crash. The COVID crash did pop down and hold at that 300 week, which we broke down below for the first time. Okay, so this is going to probably act as resistance. So the question is, can it push up higher and continue higher? Or do we see that reject? And so these are the two scenarios you want to keep an eye out for. I think I have those already drawn on one of these other charts here. So let's see. We can draw the scenarios, but here's another look at it. Higher lows, the bull market support band also right in that area. So we've got a significant amount of resistance right in this area. So we want to be keeping an eye on that very carefully tomorrow. Can it push back above, say, 19,000 and hold, say, 19,500? The article was mentioning 18,500, but to be honest, I think that that doesn't do it. I think we'll certainly test 18,500, which would be the midpoint of this big red vector candle. These midpoints do tend to get retested, and you can see that here. We see this often in the charts. And here's another example here. There's reasons for this I won't get into, but down below, tested repoint, broke up above it. So that's what I'm watching for in this chart. So, it would need some strength to get above that trend line, this trend line, and that bull market support band. All right. The good news is the bear market, or the bear flag that I had drawn on here previously, is looking like it's going to be invalidated. So if I turn off that bear flag, now it's just rising support, and it's more of an symmetrical triangle here. So these are great because, well, they're going to break to either to the upside or the downside. They don't go sideways forever. And so we'll know soon enough what we think is going to happen in these. So again, bear flag is what I was a little worried about. If it had broken down below here, the measured move from the neckline here would have put us down, or the flagpole rather, getting my indicators mixed up here, and down to this $14,000 range. Still could happen. So we need to keep an eye on that. All right, moving right along here, we've got the Bitcoin daily chart. And so again, a little bit more granular, still resistance here at 18,000 needs to push up above that. Could see that, but I see it's overbought here on this trend strength indicator that we use. And our radar here also is mostly green, though. This is encouraging. The 4-hour is showing a bit of a pullback and weakness, but I've got green on the radar, daily, weekly, monthly. Somebody had asked where to find this. This is a proprietary radar that we created. But in terms of where we are now, I think okay, one of the other indicators we use is this trend indicator, and I look for a bell signal. So right now it's kind of a waiting pattern. So that makes sense. I would wait a day, see how the CPI numbers are come in and how they are received. So with that, why don't we jump over into the indexes a bit and take a look at something I wanted to show you. Bitcoin dominance kind of coming down, not looking terribly strong. ETH dominance is looking really strong, all green on the radar. But I'm going to jump to a 2-day and zoom out, maybe a 5-day to show you this, because we have been watching this for a while. The inflection point on ETH dominance flipped over back here in November 2019, and we started seeing this pushing up, money flowing into ETH. This area in green is so important. I've had this red line drawn on here for weeks, and sure enough, it pushed up, came back. It's hugging this line here because it wants to go higher, and it's right at this level where if it can get up here to this just above the 20% line, I think we're going to see a massive rally in Ethereum and more money disproportionately coming in to ETH versus Bitcoin. So we'll have to see. On USDT, dominance at USDT is breaking down. That's encouraging, all red on the radar. So I think we're setting up for a rally here, and I've been saying that for a week. Certainly in the altcoin markets, not necessarily the bottom, but a short-term tradable bottom. Yes. Let's look at the DXY as well. So the DXY pushing down, bearish engulfing candle. So this tells me that we should head lower on the DXY, and again, in line with the Bitcoin and crypto rally. So if we do see this pushing higher, these are the scenarios on the DXY, by the way. If we start pushing up into this range, that's crypto pullback. If we go down, that's crypto rally. And I think that's what we're going to see here. DXY down, Bitcoin up. All right. So at any rate, and then of course up here, if we get up testing old highs, that's retesting the crypto lows zone. I don't think that's going to happen, but we will have to keep an eye on that. Total market cap is pushing up a bit into a new trading range. So this is encouraging. I had drawn this as a possible back up the truck and buy everything zone, but we're seeing this push up, green on the radar. And so that looks encouraging and in line with what we were watching and what I've been showing you in terms of the signals for pushing higher. All right, what else do we want to look at? The alt perpetual index. This has been looking great too, all green on my radar. So another signal that we're heading higher on the altcoins. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? Bit of a squiggly line here because it's a weekly chart, but I would expect this to push up higher, pull back a bit. And if the CPI doesn't scare everybody, it may be a big nothing burger, by the way. So we want to watch the charts. Show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. My target on the altcoin perpetual index, I don't really trade this, but it's a good barometer. Nice golden pocket target here on the Fibonacci's from the swing high to the swing low. That would put us right in this zone right here around 31, 32. And that would bring many of the altcoins up that are trending higher. And there's some good looking ones in here. I was looking at today and another group and another watch list that I have. So I'll just show you some of these. to signal that what we're kind of watching. Got some nice movement on XRP. I mentioned that. I have a sort of a paper trade target on that of right in here. Also, the golden pocket Fibonacci projection, right? So swing high to swing low, right in this zone here, around 44 cents. Now that it's broken out of this wedge here, it's kind of it's a bit of it's not a symmetrical wedge. It's sort of a descending triangle, but these can break to the upside. The second profit target I've put up here at 54 cents. So very strong candle and move on XRP based on, I don't know. Maybe there's some leakage on the case, but this is encouraging on that front there, breaking up above that. Oh, what else? AVAX announces a partnership with Amazon, saw a big push higher, all green on the radar. I think probably hit some resistance in this level there. My target on that is $17. Again, another Fibonacci retracement into the golden pocket, which is that 0.65, between 0.65 and 0.618. So it has another 30% to go, but look at that. Nice push up on AVAX, and looks like it could have some more upside there. And a couple others here, Metis and Cadena. These are payment platforms, just playing around with those. Atom had a nice chart here, and it's up toward resistance now. But in terms of a risk favorable trade, depending on how high it would go, I usually look for a 3-to-1 ratio risk to reward. This kind of comes in at a 4 if it comes back up to this last local high, and then a stop loss just below the low of this candle. Typically, I like to keep a tighter stop loss on these, but I'll give it to below that one because it certainly could come back down, and I find support at its 21 and 50-day moving averages. So these are one of my favorites to watch for. And it's breaking back above that 21-day moving average. So that looks good to me. Fantom coin, of course, this is not financial advice here, but some great looking chart patterns. What do we have on Fantom coin? We had nice inverse head and shoulders here, left shoulder head and the right shoulder. So the measured move on that, as it breaks and has broken the neckline, right, puts this right up here around 30 cents. And so from current levels, nice little trade from here, potentially. Paper trading is a good way to sharpen the saw. And if you are investing in real money, always invest responsibly and use stop losses. And base hits are really important in these markets. Okay, so possible 18% push up from current levels on Fantom coin. In terms of other ones we're watching here, we can take a look at Ethereum. And, so a couple scenarios here on Ethereum. I just realized I'm still on the 5-day, but the patterns are still looking good. So apologies for that. But sometimes just to eliminate some noise, I'll just even go to a 2-day, see how it can clean up some of the noise here. I have a little mental note that I'm considering buying Ethereum over 1,300, but we've done that. I was waiting for a confirmation, which actually we're having right now, that above this resistance level right here. So Ethereum now above both its 21 and 50-day exponential moving average, holding up here above this resistance level. I think Ethereum looks good here, guys. All green on the radar. The 3 scenarios I've laid out as it pushes higher, comes back, retests this line here. By the way, a little tip for you in TradingView: if you hold down your shift key, it'll automatically level the line, makes it easy to draw. Come back, retest, push higher, or it still could pull back and reject here, although we only have an hour left in today's candle. I think this goes. Ethereum is ready to run. I showed you ETH Dominance. I think these 2 scenarios that I had drawn have been invalidated. It doesn't, it's not going to crash and pull back down that fast. I don't think so. And so I'll leave these 2 on here as a maybe, but this one looks like a much higher likelihood of happening. Okay, so what would my target be on this? Again, we'll pull out our Fibonacci tool, look for a golden pocket target. That puts us right up in here about 1460, which is also the midpoint of this vector candle. You can Google those. I won't go into what they are, but I do notice that the midpoints tend to get retested. What we can also do here, not to make this too much confusing, but let's take a look at the volume weighted profile here and just see where the most, so that's right in there. I think I'll extend it out and see where Ethereum is likely to go back to. If we move that out to this high, I might even go farther back on that, but kind of hunting for lines in the sand here, but it is interesting from even back in these ranges, because I was looking at this earlier before we even got into this bear market. It sort of told us that this would be the level on the bottom, right? This volume weighted price profile here, and from, I guess that's unfair to scroll it all the way over there. What I was looking at, guys, bear with me. Obviously, you can't look into the future, but if we did it through here, you see that to the market high, and it showed us even back farther. It showed us ahead of time where the bottom would likely be. This is a very powerful indicator, and that was just drawn to the market top. So, I mean, it's another signal that this was the market bottom, okay, in this range. So very interesting. And so keep an eye on Ethereum, and of course, keep an eye on the news. Want to keep this relatively short, but again, very interesting. We'll see what happens. It's some nice looking coin setups that I'm seeing across multiple time frames, and also multiple coins and areas. AVAX here again on the daily after that push up higher. I do think it hits resistance in this area, could push up to this level, pull back, break out, or pull back and head higher. I think if it does pull back, we'll see some support on the 21 and 50-day rising moving averages. I'm tempted to pull up an Ichimoku and just see where the cloud is, but I think it's probably still up ahead of us, so that would be more resistance. Biggest hurdle is to get back above this line at 1477. But hey, Amazon partnership with AVAX, you know, look, again, Google is emerged from the ashes in the internet after the internet bubble, and it grew fast by acquiring other companies once they figured out their revenue model. Amazon has their revenue model. I think they could go on as they want to get into the Web3 space, into an acquisition buying mode and buying great blockchain projects. We haven't seen a lot of M&A yet, but it's coming. So with that, you guys, I'll just kind of wish you a goodbye here, give you a little wave. I got my nice space background because I think we're going to the moon. Maybe not right away, but soon enough. Okay, take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.